Hi, Metalhead Weatherman. I hope you guys have had a good Thursday. I mentioned in yesterday's video that I was gonna do a tropical outlook, so henceforth, here we are. I'm gonna just go ahead and jump right into it. I know that we've had Karl around here for a while, and for the last couple of days, Karl has actually been stationary, but it's still battling with wind shear on the north and western sides of the storm here, limiting any real chance of it developing into anything more significant. Although in the most recent satellite images, it does look like there is a tiny little bit of strengthening. I do notice a small drop in the central pressure. We're now sitting below 1,000 millibars I think for the first time, honestly. And Karl has begun to make its trek to the southeast at 7 miles an hour, just as predicted. Once we started to get that first bit of an Arctic blast over here in the U.S., I'll be talking more about that video maybe in the morning. If not in the morning, then yeah, I'm gonna try to just see if I can do it in the morning because I also am gonna try to do a weekend forecast. Might be a daily double for you guys. But now that we've talked a little bit about Karl, we'll also talk about this feature right here that's just come off the West African coast here. Slight chance of development. Not a very great or very long window of opportunity for it to develop. It's a relatively decently moving storm, but if we look on the satellite, it's not moderate. It's pretty disorganized still. It's in a very unfavorable spot here in the MDR. I would honestly want it a little bit further north if I was to look at a chance for development, but even then, we're just in an environment where the water's starting to get a little bit cooler. Not to mention, the wind shear around this area has been unfriendly, as well as the steering pattern if you're looking for any sort of land impacts. So really, this invest area, it's not really much of an invest area, honestly. It's an area of interest just to kind of record what's been going on around this region. That's pretty much what it's been the entire year. Of all the storms that we've had make some sort of impact to land, almost none of them have been from the MDR. But that's no complaint of mine, if anything, because if given the right steering current and the right environment, these storms can be very, very destructive. So, all in all, no complaints from me. Let's take a closer look at Karl on satellite here. Most recent image has it definitely looking like it's starting to strengthen a bit here. Although the wind speed isn't really expected to change much, I do think it could potentially get back up to about 50 miles an hour. Still doubtful, but I'm pretty sure a lot of people aren't really concerned with this at all. Even over here in Mexico, to be honest. The biggest threat that I would say exists with Karl is going to be the rainfall, and especially because of how slow Karl is moving. Karl right now is moving at 7 miles an hour. It's not going to speed up too much more beyond that. This cold front's just going to push things a little bit further to the south. By the weekend, this storm will have probably completely fallen apart, but may have a chance at a new life and a new named storm in the Pacific region, which is really interesting. We'll see how that goes, because you rarely see stuff like that, and I think it's pretty cool. But beyond that, there really isn't much going with it. All the models are pretty much in agreement with what this storm's going to do here. We do have tropical storm warnings issued for the southeastern coast of Mexico, but beyond that, just not much going on there. I also wouldn't rule out maybe a couple of inland tornadoes or maybe a couple booms of thunder and lightning here and there, but beyond that, so what? It's not much anything going on there. None of these spaghetti models have it going out to the US here. Great news for us. And then when we look at the intensity model, pretty much none of these have it even coming close to a hurricane. Where it's at right now is pretty much the apex for it here. The most generous model has it going to about maybe 50 knots, maybe 60 miles an hour at most, but it's a long shot. Most of them just have it. Most of them just have Karl on a real downtrend here. So, like I said, not the most impressive storm, but we'll just have to watch the flooding. We'll go ahead and run this along real quick just to see if there's any other stuff going on in the main development region beyond this point. And I mean, we'll have pieces of energy flying about. Like I said, hurricane season doesn't end till November 30th, so you can never say never, but I think we're starting to get into a really quiet period again. I'm more concerned about coastal storms off the northeast, severe weather threats, trough ejections at this point. This stuff that's already set to go inland, like these, like if you look right here, there's nothing really there. I'm looking at the European Ensemble, by the way. So we'll run to the GFS Ensemble here, and pretty much we're gonna see the same thing. Now the GFS does kind of hype things up a little bit more, but even so, that's saying a lot when we're looking at the same thing as the Euro here as far as intensity. It's a couple more waves, but it's the same old song and dance that we've had all year. Anything that really forms an MDR that tries to develop into something gets kicked out to sea almost immediately. Nothing really of any concern to anyone in the US. Maybe something pops up and makes a close pass to Bermuda, but even then, there's not much going on here. However, it does look like towards the end of this run, we might get a change in the this ridge right here, and it could change things. But this is in such an unfavorable area during this time of year that I'm not too sold on any sort of major developments. Now, if it gets towards Hispaniola here, anything can happen. But odds are, I'm not expecting too much out of this. I'm mainly more focused on any chance of development being over towards areas close to home. So we'll go ahead and look at the GFS Ensemble again. These ensemble members are meant to give me not only an area interest, but these little red numbers are also, I guess you would say, they're probabilities. But if we look right now, this ridge pops up over the southeast. Definitely going to inhibit development around the Gulf right now. The Gulf basically becomes a no-fly zone. Any storms that pop up in this region are going to get sheared apart. That pattern eventually starts to lighten up, but as of right now, we don't really have too much anything going on. We have little small pieces of energy that try to make their way into Mexico, but even so, it's not a whole lot going with that either. Toward the end, we have an interesting little feature here. Has a decent size number, maybe a small probability of it developing, but I'm taking that with a grain of salt given how far out we are into the run. We're actually at the furthest end of the GFS Ensemble run here. So we'll go ahead and look at the 12Z Euro, and then we'll call this a video really, because the Euro Ensemble is showing a little bit less generous than even the GFS Ensemble, but that's pretty much normal as well though. Here we are. So we're looking at Karl here, and like I said, Euro is a little bit quieter than the GFS even. There honestly isn't even one piece of energy from this yet. Maybe towards the end of the run we kind of see something, but not a lot of confidence in it at all. So it looks like the tropics are quieting down for right now. We'll have to see how things go from this point. Never say never, because again, we still have a little over a month to go in our official hurricane season. And keep in mind, Mother Nature doesn't follow the rules. She makes the rules. So who knows what lies ahead. But that's it for this video. If you liked what I did in this one, definitely like, subscribe. Let me know. Let me know in the comments what your thoughts are about this year's hurricane season so far, and also give me your thoughts on this upcoming cool down. Are you ready for it? But anyway, this has been Tired Metalhead Weatherman. I'm gonna try to see if I have a video for you guys in the morning, and if so, I will see you then. If not, then I'll see you Friday afternoon. Have a good night.